Well, to discuss all that's trending in the world of travel, let's bring in travel expert Lee Abbamonte. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So, Lee, the global travel and tourism industry brings in trillions of dollars every year. But what's the current state of the travel industry as a whole at the moment?
Well, the current state is kind of uncertain, to be honest, with the new administration in America and some uncertainty around the globe, whether it's in the Middle East or in Asia. A lot of things are kind of on hold, but people are still traveling. But it's the leisure traveler who's kind of staying at home as opposed to traveling abroad, whether it's Americans leaving the country or, of course, people coming into America.
Now, as you mentioned, President Donald Trump's immigration stance and the travel ban really began to discourage foreign visits to major U.S. cities, and that's threatening to cost billions of dollars and thousands of jobs. But it seems that reaction has been much more muted to his revised travel ban. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that originally the travel ban was it just went too far, and it kind of caught people by surprise. It kind of came out of nowhere. I know he said it during his campaign, but people didn't really think he was going to try to do it. And then when he did it, people took it to heart, really, and not just in America, but all over the world, because it didn't address people with pre-existing visas, and also it just had kind of random countries, but it didn't have other countries that seemed to potentially have some of his business dealings at interest. So it was interesting to see how that went. And nowadays, it looks like he's going to amend that a little bit, but I think the travel industry is kind of in a wait and hold pattern, basically. I just came back from a conference with some U.S. travel representatives, and that's basically what the majority of people are saying. It's kind of wait and hold and see what happens, to be honest, because it's costing everybody a lot of money, and nobody wants to make it worse than it already is.
Now, some countries are actually seeing this as a potential opportunity. So let's take a look at some of the latest travel trends you're seeing. What's really standing out for you at the moment?
Well, travel trends change, as the days go by, and I think that solo travel has become a big trend these days. You see it all over the internet. If you follow blogs and different travel sites, they're promoting solo tourism, whether it's female or male or young people. And speaking of young people, millennials are kind of leading the charge in different types of travel. They're opting for experiences over luxury, so to speak. So things like ecotourism have become really trendy these days. Also, leisure. So it's a business and leisure combo. So the sharing economy has lended this, actually, and people are going on business trips, but instead of staying in hotels, they might be using a company like Airbnb and perhaps staying for a weekend and having some friends come and join them. So there's a lot of combo action going on in the world of travel today, and I think it's more experiential than it has been in years past.
I was quite jealous looking at your Twitter feed. I saw that your visit to Malta and everything that's happening there. So what about countries that perhaps may not be on people's radar that they should be really considering?
Well, I mean, the hottest place to go from America right now is Cuba. Everybody wants to go to Cuba, and I would tell anybody who wants to go now, because the Trump administration's policy toward Cuba is completely unknown. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So right now you can go, and you can go legally. So I suggest that people take advantage of it right now. Another hot destination for Americans specifically is and has been Iceland. There are cheap flights on WOW Air and other airlines to go from the U.S. to there. And people just love it for Instagram. It's a beautiful place, and Americans are eating it up. And after their financial collapse a few years ago, it's as cheap as it's ever been. And continental Europe, with some of the discount airlines like Norwegian Air and some of the U.S. partnerships that travel out to Europe, they've seen incredible deals. With the cost of oil being low, they can actually promote basic fares across the pond out to Europe.
And we know that Chinese travelers are obviously big spenders when they travel. What do you see in terms of travel in Asia going forward?
Well, Asia's an interesting region right now, with kind of a little bit of unrest going on between China and South Korea with the whole North Korea situation. And because of the THAAD situation, China has actually asked Chinese tour operators to stop sending people in package tours to South Korea, which is going to hurt the economy of South Korea. And they're also trying to stop some of the South Korean companies from operating within China. So that's interesting, but that pretty much just stays within those two countries. I don't think it's going to affect the West traveling to Asia, because Asia is still a really affordable destination for Americans and for Europeans, and it's a favorite, especially Southeast Asia. I actually just got back from Thailand. You might be able to tell with my tan. And, it's wonderful. It's very affordable. Places like that. Singapore is just a wonderful place. And
Right.
I don't really see that changing anytime soon.
Well, thank you for your insights and your travel tips. Lee Abbamonte, travel expert.